the opportunity to share with us your news. The consent agenda has 4 items on it. First is approval of the prior minutes from July 2021. Second is approval of Ddot transportation safety assessment for the 600 block of Princeton Place. The third is approval of the FY22 budget for the commission. And the fourth is a letter to the Armed Forces Retirement Home on their Zone A development, Section 106 preservation review update. Moving into official business, we have 6 items on the agenda at this time. First is the grant application for the Fall Fun Fest at the Friends of the Soldiers Home for $1,000. The second is a letter requesting that Ddot review a Ddot review of 1A06 streets that lack resident-only parking signs. The third is a settlement agreement letter of protest for us to discuss with Creole 14. Fourth is the BZ Gay case 2425 for 616 Quebec. Fifth is a response to the Zoning Commission as it relates to zoning case 1611. Last is a letter to authorize Commissioners Ray and myself to work with the Parkview Elementary School for some issues that they have with public space. This is a good time. If there's anything on the agenda that's missing, please mention it. If there's something that needs to be removed, please let us know. And if there's any reordering or changes, this is the time to let us know.
I would point out that it appears Commissioner Hall has now joined us.
Thank you, Commissioner Ray.
Hello.
Hello, Commissioner Hall. We're setting the agenda at this point. So
Sorry, I had a little problem with my Zoom app.
You're not alone. I had to change laptops to just get video going. So
For once I didn't.
yeah, for once Commissioner Love Wade was in the game and the rest of us were catching up. Let me see. I will also say this because I've noticed this has occurred in the past as well. For commissioners, I am going to make every effort to recognize you when your hand is raised. If your hand is raised and I do not see you, feel free to say something. I would say there's a lot of things that I really like Zoom for. This is not one of them because sometimes you're not on my screen and I don't see you. So there's no slight intended. But in scrolling back and forth, I do not see any hands raised with regards to changes to the agenda. So if there are no changes, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, then I will presume that I made the motion when I was saying it. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agenda is adopted. Thank you all. Moving to community announcements. If there's any member of the community that has something that you'd like to share with us and you're not already on the agenda for a presentation, please feel free to raise your hand. We will recognize you and elevate you. I believe if you dialed in, it's *9. While we're waiting to see if community members have announcements, I will start with commissioners who may have announcements. So similar, I see Commissioner Bonneau has raised her hand, followed by Commissioner Gorpade.
Thank you, Chairperson Bass. Really great to be with you all. Hope folks had a nice summer. We are resuming our monthly cleanups up in 1A01 and would love to have members of the community come out this Sunday, September 12th, 11 a.m. to noon with an optional social afterwards. We will provide bags and gloves. And I will put my email in the chat if you have any questions. And it should be a great day. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gorpade, I believe you had your hand raised.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to see everyone again. Quick announcement, quick reminder that the DC Tuition Aid Grant, DC TAG, closes on September 17th, which is coming up in a little bit over a week. So if you know any young people that are planning to go to college, need help with financial aid, please reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat as well, because we want to make sure that they meet that deadline. Again, it's September 17th. And as another quick reminder, you have to reapply for this every year. So even if it's a young person that's going to be a junior, senior, fifth year in college, they need to reapply every year to get any type of money from DC TAG.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other commissioners with announcements? Not seeing any. And in looking at community members who have joined, I don't see any hands raised. So with that, we can move into committee reports. We do not have Commissioner Miller here tonight, so I'm presuming there is no Education Committee update, but I will announce that the next Education Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, September 15th at 2021, starting at 7 p.m. Details for how to join that meeting would be on the ANC webpage on the homepage with the calendar, just like for this meeting. Moving to public safety, Commissioner Bonneau, do you have a report for public safety?
I do, thank you. We did not meet in August, but we are resuming our monthly public safety meetings. We're actually moving them, so they will be the 4th Thursday. They used to be the 3rd Thursday, but that is when MPD is having their Citizens Advisory Council meetings. So if neighbors would like to connect with MPD, they can go to those meetings on the 3rd Thursday, and then the Public Safety Committee will be meeting on the 4th Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. So that next meeting puts us at September 23rd at 7 p.m. We're hoping to hear from a couple of community-based organizations and setting some goals for the remainder of the year. Would love to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving to transportation, we no longer, with the loss of Commissioner Rabarchik, we do not technically have a new replacement for a commissioner, but we do have a robust transportation committee coming up. Commissioner Ray, do you want to take the lead, or do you want me to start and then you fill in what I've missed?
No, sure, I'm happy to. So the next meeting is Tuesday, September 28th at 7 p.m. You will find a link on our calendar when you go to the anc1a.org website and click on the calendar day for the 28th. You'll be able to see the link that will take you into the meeting. And the main topic for the agenda that evening is that Ddot will be joining us with their bike specialist team to talk about the crosstown bike lane projects that right now are scheduled for Warder and Park Place, but we'll also be hearing about plans for Park Road and for Kenyon. So please do join us for that meeting, as we'll be getting at least a 60% review, I know, on Park Place, and probably some overview or preliminary review on Park Road and Kenyon. Anything else, Commissioner?
No, the only thing I would add to that is this has been the engagement process and the back and forth with Ddot has been a very long process, in my opinion, not necessarily longer than it should be, but I know that there are members of our community that are disappointed that it's not further along, at least for Park Place and Warder. I think a lot more needs to go into Kenyon, frankly. That said, I would, after this meeting, we may want to talk as commissioners on how to perhaps have more effective notice to the residents on the impacted blocks. I think that Ddot's willingness to work with us and come to this committee to share their plans, not just at the 30%, but now at the 60%. I think it's a good thing and a needed thing, and something that should be the norm, not something that we get excited about. So I just want to make sure that the residents have every opportunity to be engaged, because this is it's an important project, but it's also going to be an impactful project. Moving on to zoning, parks and planning, Commissioner Ray, I'll throw you in the hot seat again.
Sure. So the ZPP committee will also be meeting again. We're on the third Tuesday of the month, so that is the 21st, also at 7 p.m. And you will find that link on the calendar as well. The primary discussion topic for the evening is the Armed Forces Retirement Home Zone A. And for those that are not familiar, that is sort of the southeast corner of the property that abuts North Capitol Street and Irving Street. So they will be reviewing their master plan and what they plan to do with that. So it will be a very interesting topic. I'm told that it might actually be one of the largest redevelopments that will happen in the city. So it is a big deal. Please join us.
Yeah, and if I may put a plug in for that as well, some may notice that we have the 106 review for the Armed Forces Retirement Home on the consent agenda tonight. And the reason for that is that's the preservation review. Just to help commissioners who may not have been following, I know there's a lot of commissioners here that were not here 13 years ago when these conversations started. And for context, I want them to know that there's a number of reviews that are going to be coming up and a number of opportunities to address things that I personally feel are very important issues that need to be dealt with in this or considered in this project, such as impacts on traffic. And when they're talking about housing, what kind of housing that is and access to green space. The 106 review isn't the place for those conversations, but there are going to be other bites at the apple and other reviews that are coming our way. And I just wanted people to understand why the 106 is in the consent versus what other opportunities for community engagement will be coming. So that's my advertisement to everybody, not just commissioners, but also members of the community. Please come to the meeting where the AFRH will be talking to us, because there's a lot that's going to be going on that property, and it will have an impact on our community. So the more you can learn about it, the better off we will be as a community and as a commission when these other reviews come up for our input. Moving on to the treasurer's report. We are being asked to review and pass the FY 2022 budget tonight. Per Commissioner Miller's, I know that Commissioner Ray shared this out to the commissioners earlier this afternoon. But according to Commissioner Miller, the budget is largely a carryover budget from last year, with one, I think, change, and that is money that's gone into grants, which is $3,000 in her proposed budget. It's a pretty straightforward budget. The total funds available are going to be $31,500. It breaks down to $11,000 for personnel, $6,000 for direct office costs, $2,000 for communication, $1,000 for office supplies, $3,000 for grants, $360 for bank charges, and then $8,000 in petty cash. Well, it's other, so it could be anything. Money can be moved around in the budget as the year goes forward for those who are new to the ANC. And I think the other for $8,000, we could decide to move some of that into grants. However, I will say, since we can move things around with a vote in the future, this might be a good place, because with the pandemic still ongoing and some of the opportunities we've had this last year to spend money to serve the community that aren't normally options, we don't know if that will happen again. Is there any discussion? Sure.
Clarifying question. Sorry to interrupt. I understand that we're looking at two different items. So one would be the narrative of the budget we're closing, and one would be the proposed new budget. Is that correct?
I don't think we need to we don't need to pass the narrative at this time, is what I
Okay.
understand. We do need to pass the budget because we're going from one fiscal year into another.
So then my question is what I noticed in the worksheet is that the shift from last year's budget to this year's budget is that, and Commissioner Miller, I think, called this out in her email, we do see a reduction in that other line item where grants have been increased to up to 8,000. And other is down to 3,000.
Okay,
Right.
is that what she did?
Yeah, so that's on the spreadsheet version of it. And so then
Okay.
the Word document
Yes,
is our prior year.
If that's what Commissioner Miller, and I think I did read that.
Correct.
email.
That was how it was.
Okay. So I guess that's the question is, are we okay with that change, or do we want to reverse it? Like I said, I'm okay with supporting what Commissioner Miller has put before us because we can adjust those line items in the future as we learn more.
I certainly support that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you were already starting to say this, Commissioner Bass, that like the pandemic is still ongoing. And I think especially as the eviction moratorium ends and we see an unemployment benefits end, we'll see an uptick in some neighbors and organizations that potentially need support. So I think that makes sense. I know DC loves acronyms. I don't understand what ANCSF is. If anyone is able to tell me what that is in the other category.
Oh, poor baby. It's the Air Force retirement home.
No. ANCSF.
No, ANCSF.
Oh, I thought you said AF.
No.
Oh, no. That I, yeah,
No.
that I follow.
What Commissioner Miller is referring to is the ANC Security Fund.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, which is we're required to
Which I
either.
believe is $25.
Yeah, it's not much, but she's just being thorough. But yeah. Okay, then we will leave that into the consent agenda. And we will deal with the narrative, that sounds horrible. We will address the narrative and pass it when Commissioner Miller's had a chance to do it, but it doesn't need to be passed tonight. So moving along for presentations, I see the first presentation listed is Christopher Dyer from DPR, I believe it is. So if we could elevate Chris, that would be great.
Yep, I'm here. Let me figure out where the share this. Oh, there it is.
And he'll need to be a co-host. So that he can, there you go.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, are you guys now seeing my screen?
yeah, I see a screen.
Okay,
I was going to say we see a white screen, but it had your name on it for a minute, but
And then it's
it's
blank.
getting
that's interesting. Okay. Of course, now my screen is blanking in and out. Would you like to go to the next person so I can figure out what's going on with?
Yeah, we could do that. There's certainly enough. As you're figuring out your
Actually, yeah, let me, got it. I think I got it now. Well, no. Okay, yeah, please go to the next person. I'm going to take this down and put it onto my hard drive and try that way.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. We will come back to you.
I appreciate
Moving
that.
on, we will go to Steve Dryden for the Rock Creek National Park adjacent to Quincy discussion. If we can elevate Mr. Dryden.
He does not appear to be here. If he is, can he raise his hand?
I think we can move on.
Yeah, then we will move on. Is Trevor's Culpepper from Pepco with us tonight?
He doesn't appear to be, unfortunately.
No. Maybe he will join us in a bit.
Yeah, folks, I can actually try again if you'd like.
Sure.
Hopefully. I don't quite understand. Okay, are you now seeing an ANC presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm still learning technology as we have all, tried Zoom. Anyway, good evening. Thank you, by the way, for inviting me to attend this. My name is Christopher Dyer, and I was recently joined the Department of Parks and Rec in their External Affairs Division. One of my main responsibilities is to be your point of contact and your liaison to the agency. So anything Parks and Rec that you'd like done, like for example, Commissioner Bass pointed out that there were some, the screens needed fixing at Parkview Park. So I put a ticket in. I'm your person and I get to go and make periodic presentations. This is the second time I've made this presentation, so I apologize in advance for any hiccups. So I'm going to try to, there we go. So for those of you who didn't know, the Department of Parks and Rec is the #1 ranked park system in the country. We host programming and events year-round in over 243 sites and across 725 acres of green space in all 8 wards. And we annually have up to 100 different projects, capital improvement projects in our construction pipeline every year. What I wanted to talk to you about now is we operate year-round. And we are now in the middle of we've just finished a very successful summer program with residents taking advantage of our camps, parks, and pools. And now we're accepting registrations for fall programming. In order to participate and for a complete list of our programs, please visit dprprograms.com. It'll give you a complete list of the programs we're offering this fall, and you'll have a chance to register. The next slide is about in-person programming that we offer. We offer a wide variety of programs, in-person programs this fall in the following categories. I'm not going to read them. You can see them when you get to the PowerPoint presentation, but we are now, there are a lot of still good in-person programs, and due to COVID, we are requiring that you wear masks when entering the facility and wear them at all times. And obviously, if you are experiencing illness or feel sick or have been exposed to COVID, please do not attend our in-person programs. If you're more comfortable doing stuff virtually, we have a bunch of virtual programs. I've actually tried one of the fitness classes online, and it's very refreshing that I didn't accidentally run over anyone. I did run over myself by accident. So it is still an option, and we do recommend it if you can. We are very excited, as you may know, Parkview, there's the program that the mayor's launched called Building Blocks. And Parkview is one of the areas in which we have building blocks. And we're offering rec parties this fall at the Parkview Recreation Center for enriching activities twice a week. On Wednesdays, we'll have outdoor games and crafts involving board games, ping pong, and craft kits starting at 4:30, which is game night. Friday night, we'll have popcorn and card games starting at 4:30. And this will last, obviously, weather permitting, through the fall. We just released a Aquatics update. For those of you who might know, all of our outdoor pools are officially now closed for the season. We are keeping spray parks open daily from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. until September 26th. We also have our indoor pools up and running, and there are some lists of the indoor pool hours. Please note that Tacoma Pool is still closed for renovations, hopefully reopening in spring of 2022. And our Turkey Thicket Pool is also closed, reopening in winter of 2022. Some DCPS public school pools are going to be coming online starting on September 20th. As you'll note, the Blue and Dunbar and HD Woodson, there are the hours during the week. And we're excited about that. Also, there's going to be a rec center opening at Farabee Hope sometime in the next few weeks that'll have pool hours. We will release those. And for those of you wondering about, actually, no, these are ones that we are. Roosevelt also will sometime open in the winter. So, our next talk is about permits. I don't know if any of you are planning a meeting, practice, or event and need a great location. Department of Parks and Rec is, proud to provide the public with wonderful facilities, parks, and pools. In fact, I was at a public engagement and I had a very enthusiastic parent come up to me and share that he was very impressed and had a tremendous time at one of our rec center, one of our fields. Then his 5-year-old son told me, quote, he had the best day ever. So if you're looking to do an event, please take a look on our website at dpr.dc.gov/permits or call 202-673-7647 for complete information on how to get a permit for your special event. The next is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with our Ready to Play option, our Ready to Play program. It is a 20-year strategic plan process that we were doing. We started about 1.5 years ago putting this together, and we had some public engagement sessions, which were cut short across the, which obviously all mostly became virtual due to the pandemic. We sent out a survey that got great participation, and over the summer, we issued an update that includes a draft set of goals with 13 strategies and 85 specific actions, a draft equity framework. We had the results of our Ready to Play citywide survey, and we would really like you to go to visit readytoplaydc.com to provide feedback on these items. Because, and this is where as an ANC, you'll find this of particular interest, we are going to be issuing and finalizing a draft capital blueprint, which will be released sometime in this fall. And obviously ANCs will play an incredibly good vital role in providing us feedback on this. This will become our 20-year strategic plan. It'll plan all of the activities for Parks and Rec for the next 20 years in all 8 wards. So please keep an eye out for that. And we welcome your feedback. We also wanted to remind you of a couple of things to make the experience going into our parks a little bit more safe and comfortable for everyone. First is pets in the park. We know that pets or dogs are a very important part of the family, and we love your furry friends. We love our furry guests. We do remind people that in the parks, off-leash dogs are only permitted in the DPR designated dog park facilities, and they're not permitted off-leash in public space. Also, leash dogs must be held in person by a capable person managing the dog, and dogs are not permitted on the natural turf or synthetic turf fields, athletic courts, pools or pool areas, or playground areas. So please do not let your dog run free on the basketball court in Parkview. We highly recommend you don't do that. And also please remember that picking up your dog after your dog is required by law. Please help us have poop-free parks and participate, or else you might get fined. Finally, there is a list of prohibited activities in our parks because we'd like you to use them in a safe manner. Please note that bonfires or open flames are prohibited. As much as I enjoy a good marshmallow roast, please don't do that in our parks. Also, please no parking or driving on the grass, fields, recreation courts, play areas, etc. Consumption of alcohol, gambling, or the possession of illegal substances, and the use of explosives, firearms, and firecrackers are prohibited. Please do not smoke in our facilities and playgrounds. And also, it is a violation to engage in disorderly behavior. So if you got one of our fantastic permits and you're having a party and your guests are, engaging in disorderly behavior, you might be liable as well. And another reminder, please do not camp or use our facilities overnight. So that is in a brief nutshell what's going on with the Parks and Rec. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. This is my information. It's Christopher Dyer at Departments of Parks and Rec. My phone number for those of you who are listening in, dialing in, it's 202-702-9453. And my email is christopher.dyer@dc.gov. And that ends the presentation. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I don't know how you would like to do it, but I'm welcome to answer at this time.
Sure. Thank you, Christopher. I will certainly ask if any other commissioners have questions for you. I am going to reserve any questions I have at this time. I'm sure that we will be talking soon, and I probably would enjoy a much deeper conversation than a few minutes of Q&A.
Certainly.
I'll look to other commissioners to see if there are any questions for Mr. Dyer.
I'm just anxious to see the 20-year plan.
You and several of my colleagues, we're getting closer. It's been an interesting process, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
I see Commissioner Lehman Morales has his hand up. So
yeah, I just had a quick question. Would it be possible for you to share that presentation with the commission? Ideally, I'd like to reference it back at some point. Some of the information I thought was very useful.
Yes, I actually emailed it to Commissioner Ray when I realized that you guys were publishing documents before the meeting, and I'm sorry I didn't get to you beforehand, so it's there. And again, commissioners, if you want to have a one-on-one call with me or an email with me and have a question, please do so. I had a really good presentation at 1C, and I've had follow-up conversations with a couple of the ANC commissioners. Also, if you see something in the parks that you want fixed that is a little bit off, as Commissioner Bays sort of pointed out, please take a picture and email it to me or text it to me, and I'll open up a ticket with our Parks and Rec, with our Department of General Services to try to get things done. We're pretty good with rec centers that have staff there, but from some of our parks, we don't actually have full-time staff there. So your help in finding things that need to be fixed, please do, and I'm happy to do it, if that makes sense.
Oh, it made sense to me. You know me. You just said, "Do I have a photo?" and I sent them to you immediately. I don't see a problem I don't take a picture of.
Right. I appreciate that.
The other thing I would say too is what I think could be very productive for this commission and our community at large is clearly not this month because it's already booked, but it might be a good use of our time to have you come to one of our zoning, parks, and planning committee meetings, and maybe you could get into more in-depth in the long-term vision of DPR, the master plan. That could be a really good discussion, and we might learn things going both ways of the direction DPR is going, and more for DPR, the direction or some of the priorities that the community has really been looking for.
Certainly, I would be happy to have any of our parks and our ready to play folks come in once the draft, and I mean, once the blueprint is ready and the master plan is sort of drafted, obviously any kind of engagement that you'd like in a way that would be easy for us to do, we're going to welcome that. I mean, I am a former ANC commissioner myself, so I recognize the excitement and challenges and joy and frustration and happiness and joy sometimes that you guys do, and appreciate the work that you do as commissioners. I really appreciate the feedback. We welcome, we're open for, as much as we do. I also try not to overpromise and underdeliver. So,
Well, we appreciate that. I see Commissioner Bonneau has raised her hand, followed by Commissioner Gorpide, and then Commissioner Lehman Morales again. So Commissioner Bonneau.
Hi, Commissioner.
Hey. Hi, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to channel my colleague, Commissioner Miller, who couldn't be with us tonight, to just say thank you for Powell Park over on 16th Street. It looks so wonderful, and I just want to put a plug in if folks haven't had a chance to check it out, to go by with your families, and that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll pass that on to our team.
Commissioner Gorpide.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. This is very exciting to read about, and I hope our neighbors really take advantage of all the amazing programming. Just a quick question. What kind of outreach do y'all do with young people in the city? And, when you think about out of school time programs and youth development, like what are you partnering with organizations that work with youth? Are you doing direct outreach? What does that typically look like at DPR?
Okay, that's a good question, and that's a type of question that I probably can't answer to the best of my ability right now, and would appreciate you having a conversation with me offline. I can get you more details, but specifically, we try to partner, obviously, with community groups to do programming. We offer programs and services for our youth and our rec centers. And again, if you want a more detailed answer, I'd probably be better to connect you with someone in our rec services division who could explain our partnerships a little bit better, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Okay, Commissioner Layman Morales.
Hello again. So quick question. So I noticed, and this might have been accidental, but I think the PowerPoint that we got was for the presentation you did on at ANC 1C. So I was looking for the slides on the events at Parkview. So which leads me to my question.
Okay.
So it's not a big deal that we got the wrong PowerPoint. I was just wondering if there was anywhere on the DPR website where that sort of information for those sorts of events can be found. I know there's a link to the programming for the fall, but I was wondering if there's another web page or something like that for like the specific sort of I think you said it was the building blocks program that the mayor just rolled out.
So it's through the building. And by the way, I'm sorry, I will send you the right ANC PowerPoint as soon as I get off the call. I'm sorry, wonderful opportunity with a lot of desktops. And anyway, I don't want to, so no, the building blocks program is through the mayor's office. And we have specific programs at Parkview every Wednesday and Friday night. And I will make sure that you get a copy of any flyers we do for that program. And of course, because Parkview has been named, or there are some building blocks that have been identified in the Parkview neighborhood, we're basing some of our programming this month at Parkview. So that's what that's about.
Okay, thank you. And I see Commissioner Barnett has raised his hand.
Yeah, just a quick question. Thank you for the presentation. I know that this has been a big issue for some, but the dog park on 11th, I know was approved to be an official dog park. Are there any plans that are available, or a timeline, or any idea what the disruption will be to the folks who want to use it when that work starts? Anything at all? And perhaps it's a question for another time.
Actually, what was the dog park again? I'm sorry.
The Columbia Heights Dog Park on 11th. It's 11th and Park.
Yeah, if you can send me an email. I don't have the specific information about what's happening quite, but my spidey sense is tingling and remembering that there's something going on with that. Please send me an email, and I will get you the answer.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, if I might jump in just real quick. So they are still in the application process on that one, Mr. Dyer. So it's not technically under your purview yet, but it will be someday. So just so you know.
Oh, no. And so that's good, because I can talk to Katie about where it's going. I sit right across the cube farm from the woman who is in charge of our Friends of Dog Parks. So that's why. Okay. What I was more interested in is, I know that there are a couple of dog parks that are still in the process of being built out. And I know that there's a metro property that we're still trying to work on figuring out how that's going to happen. That's what I was wondering if your question was about. So please email me afterwards, and I'll get you an update.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, well, it looks like we've run out of questions from commissioners. So I will thank you, Mr. Dyer, and we will invite you back. I think that we could have a much more robust conversation with you on a lot of issues related to DPR.
And I will and if you let me know, I'll bring backup, because I know some stuff, but there are people in my agency who know a little bit more about me. But I'm happy to meet with you guys. Again, I am a big fan of ANCs, being a former ANC commissioner myself, and a big fan of government. So I appreciate the work you're doing and look forward to answering any questions you might have, or trying to. And again, I'll also try to send you the right PowerPoint slide once I get off the phone. And again, apologize for my bungled use of technology, but one of these days we'll be back in person where I'm much more charming.
Yep, don't need to apologize. We know that technology is not always our friend.
Right.
But we will talk amongst ourselves. We know some of the issues with our community and things that have been brought up to us. We can easily gather all of that and send it your way in advance, so that DPR has a better idea of some of the things that would be beneficial for us to talk about in more depth.
I really look forward to it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for the offer and for being here tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a great evening. Keep up the great work.
So in looking at the attendees, I do not see Steve Dryden yet, nor do I see Trevor's Culpepper. So I'm going to ask, is there somebody here representing DC Peace Team? I know there was a request, but I don't see a name on our agenda. So if if someone is
Professor
here.
McCarthy will be
Okay.
elevated.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. There we go.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see many of you again. I just wanted to share some updates on our community safety unit that's been at Columbia Heights Plaza since the beginning of August and working through September. Some of you may know that this project arose out of conversations with the ANC 1A Public Safety Committee, and this was identified as an area that has had some regular conflict, some violence, and could be a place for folks who are trained in de-escalation to be more available, and also to try to provide access to resources on a little more consistent basis. So our basic goals have been to, try to improve community relations and imagination around public safety. And then second, to prevent violence and destructive conflict through nonviolent responses, and then to make resources available. So just want to maybe share a couple stories and then kind of open it up and see if you have any questions on how it's going. We've met a lot of kind of really beautiful people at the plaza. A lot of people who are looking for help and looking for connection and community. And some of them are in the midst of some struggles, some struggles with isolation, being undocumented, drinking, some other drugs. So, one guy we met was a fellow named Gio who came up to us. We wear these yellow vests, and he said, I've been trying to get help, but all the different places I go to, they tell me they can't help me because I'm undocumented. He's having struggles with drinking, trying to find his way kind of through the system. Maureen is another woman we met who has relapsed, a few weeks ago, and has also told a lot of stories about growing up on a farm with horses and her having siblings that live in the area, and she loves to sing songs. She'll sing her, Zeppelin songs and Eagles from back in the day. And we were able to get her to finally say yes to go to the hospital and get cleaned up and detox and stuff like that. But she continues to kind of go up and down. But, a really beautiful woman, and we've been working with Miriam's Kitchen to try to have some regular connection with her. There's a social worker that has started there a few weeks ago. So we continue to kind of keep an eye on her and try to accompany her to kind of take those next steps. And then there's, many other folks. Renee, who's kind of the local protector. She's unhoused, but she also tries to keep track of everybody and make sure they have what they need, and people don't sort of take advantage of some of the folks that are in that space. And at one point, she was trying to get her former teacher, who was Maureen, some help with an ambulance, and just kind of broke down in tears with us and saying, she didn't want her to die. She wanted somebody to get her help, and she just couldn't see her not make it out, because there were points where she had talked about, like, cutting her wrist and things like that. Other folks like Orlando, who had a lot of pain in his legs because he was hanging out with some folks who thought they were just, having a good time at an apartment, and it turned out it was a gang initiation moment. And the way to get into the gang was somebody had to stab him in the leg multiple times. And he did. He got stabbed multiple times, and somehow he was able to make it out of the apartment, but, in a lot of pain and kind of crying while he was telling us the story, and, eventually went back to the hospital to kind of get medicated around that. So those are some of the stories. There's a lot of people there who have jumped in to help us de-escalate some things. Eduardo's a guy who speaks some Spanish and English and has been really helpful. We've de-escalated a first day we were there was a fist fight that was about to break out, and we were able to kind of get in between, distract, prevent some hits from coming. Yeah, I'm just, sorry, I'm with the DCP team. Just responding to the chat here. So this is a project that has been happening called a community safety unit down at the Columbia Heights Plaza. So these are some of the people that we've been meeting to try to support and to try to prevent harm from occurring. So we prevented this particular fist fight. There's another incident where a guy was kind of getting up in the police officer's face and looked like he might be about to get arrested, and we were able to distract him and get him to sit down and talk. And he told us about, you know, he had all these wounds. His nose looked like it was broken. He had a cut in his arm, looked like he got knifed. And he didn't have enough money to kind of get some of the medication prescriptions that he got. So we were able to kind of help him out there. So those are some stories in terms of like quantitative stuff. There's about 10 people that are deployed, usually on the weekends, Friday evenings, Saturday and Sundays. About half of those speak Spanish pretty well, you know, 60 to 70 hours through the month of August. We've had probably about 15 to 16 de-escalations at this point, direct escalations, and given out around 50 resource cards from Thrive DC, which is one of the local social service organizations. So,
I'm sorry, Mr. McCarthy, can I interrupt?
yeah, I'm pretty much done. So I'm gonna.
I just didn't, so are you there? What is your organization again? I didn't hear what you said real fast.
Yeah, we're with the DC Peace Team. So we focus on kind of cultivating the habits and skills of nonviolence. And
so are you saying there are kind of like covert agents hanging around the plaza waiting to de-escalate situations? Is that what I'm understanding?
no, we're not covert. We've met with the people in the plaza multiple times. We've introduced.
Well, I mean, are you uniformed or anything?
Yeah, we wear a yellow vest, says DC Peace Team on it, and it says lighting up human dignity on the back. And we give out little purpose statements to people that ask, particularly people who might mostly speak Spanish. So it describes our purpose and yeah.
So my question has to do with the public restroom up there. Do you have any information on that, and how long it's going to be there, and what's the effectiveness of it, the cleanliness? And I mean,
That's a man thing.
It's an eyesore up there.
Yeah, it's terrible.
In front of such a luxury apartment building and such a public space. I mean, it's not even camouflaged by bushes or hedges or shadows. It's just right out there on the very point corner of 14th and Park Road and Kenyon. And so did your group have anything to do with that, or are you in any way associated with it? Know anything about it?
No, it's been there since we started. We don't really have any influence on that. Mostly what we're seeing is that there's a pretty big lack of social worker presence. You know, Miriam's Kitchen just hired a social worker a few weeks ago. They work either in the mornings or the evenings. But the regularity of somebody who can build trust with folks and then help to facilitate sort of the next steps when those might be possible is lacking. I know the council member is getting a full-time social worker around October, which will help. I don't know if that'll be enough or not, but you know, in the meantime, and then afterwards, I think that would be a key piece, is to try to build up those resources.
If I may ask a clarifying question, because I think based on the questions I'm hearing, maybe there's some confusion. Is the DC Peace Team, is this more of a grassroots organization, or is this, so this isn't really an official government unit or agency or anything like that. You're not part of the government. This is more of a community-led organization, correct?
Yes, correct. We had a lot of preliminary meetings with like Latin American Youth Center, Thrive DC, District Bridges, some of the local organizers, Park Triangle Building, and so forth, to get a sense of what's happening, what's working, see if they were.
So you're not funded by the DC government?
Well,
Grants or anything?
we have grants from different groups. We did get one of the building blocks grants, which was focused on violence. It's a mini grant.
Sure, 501c3.
Yeah.
What interactions, you mentioned briefly, do you have with District Bridges? Because I've spoken with them as well. Are you coordinating? You know, one of the things that really strikes me is that, I know there's a meeting about it later this week, they're small nonprofits being asked to solve what's a pretty big systemic issue there. What interactions are you having with District Bridges and with any officials from the city? Who are your points of contacts?
Yeah, so we met with District Bridges. I think that was the first meeting we had after the ANC meeting. Carolina has informed us about the project that she has in terms of like creating activities in the plaza. So tables for people to eat, yoga, and so forth. So we've been out there at the same time. We've trained one of their staff people in some de-escalation skills because they were feeling a little uneasy. They've asked us to come for particular events to be part of the kind of protection team. So we've done that a couple of evenings as well. So yeah, we're in pretty regular touch. We had a community forum last Wednesday and Carolina and Jennifer were both there.
Okay. I see Commissioner Gorbaday has raised her hand.
Thanks so much. This is really interesting work and I appreciate you being here to explain it. I'm curious to hear a little bit about a little bit of the resource connection that you're speaking of. So you mentioned Miriam's Kitchen and kind of referring young folks to Miriam's Kitchen and the social worker that works there. I think what I do direct service in the city with youth and helping them get connected to employment services, housing services, mental health services. So I would love to hear like maybe a quick list of organizations that you're already working with, and then maybe we can have a conversation offline to continue to build up maybe some of those resources if you need it.
Yeah, so, we've met with the Department of Behavioral Health and their community response team that, is focused on mental health kind of situations that they will respond to. So we've gotten their resource card and had some conversations with them. Also, the Department of Human Services has been on the ground a couple of times and we've met them as well. So, they provide some access to different spots. We have a pretty substantive list of places that we can contact, from Miriam's Kitchen to Thrive DC. We're aware of some of the detox options like psychiatric treatment in Washington, some clean and sober streets, the ARC as the assessment kind of referral center, and then a couple day shelters in the area as well. So we kind of have a list of places that we'll call on in certain situations when we're on the ground. But certainly would love to have a fuller list, or have really the right spots to go to, particularly with like folks who are undocumented. And we're finding on the weekends it's really hard to find somebody. Like places are closed, or they only work certain hours. It's hard to coordinate pickup times when we need that. So the weekends are a little sparse, and as far as we can tell.
Okay. I see Commissioner Hall has another question, and I'm just going to put a pin in it that's our last question so that we can move on to our next presentation.
Yeah, this is just real quick. This is a question from the community for Mr. McCarthy. Does your services extend up to 14th and Spring? Someone wanted to know. Or is it just concentrated at the plaza?
Right now, we are just focused on the plaza, but we're happy to consider other spots if there's capacity and interest. I mean, we've been training a lot of people in the area. People keep coming up to us probably every week saying, hey, how can I get involved? So we're training new folks every week or two. So yeah, I'd be happy to consider some other spots if there's a good fit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I'm sure that we may want to have this conversation continuing. I don't know if there's an opportunity. I'm sure there is opportunities for us to provide some support and collaboration. I know that you work closely with Commissioner Bonneau, so we'll I'm sure have you back in the future, and we definitely need to keep the conversation going. So thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for your time. And if you know individuals who might want to be involved in being de-escalators on the ground, just let me know. We're happy to continue to grow that capacity.
And I'm sure Commissioner Bonneau has all your contact information. Perhaps we can get it to all the commissioners so that if they do know of anyone that wants to volunteer and work with you, that we can make those connections.
Yeah, I think my email's in the chat, esm52@Georgetown, and then the website, dcpeacesteam.com.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Moving on to Ddot, I believe we have Cyber Molina and Cynthia Tercios. If they can be elevated, that would be great to talk to us about the open streets coming.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Sarah.
My favorite ANC, my ANC. So yes, thank you for allocating some time for us to do a quick review on Open Street. So Open Street this year will be on October 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This event, as we know, is an opportunity for us to rethink how we utilize our infrastructure in our road. And it also provides an opportunity for our residents and community to go out and enjoy different recreational activities along Georgia Avenue. This event will be one of many open streets throughout the city. There will be more that are coming further on this budget season, but Open Street on Georgia Ave was the inaugural event, and so it's a big thing in our community. So as we know, parking will not be allowed on Georgia Avenue from Berry Place to Missouri Ave from 11:59 p.m. Friday, October 1st through Saturday, October 2nd at 5 p.m. And then Ddot is working with Mamata to coordinate closely on the detour. They did confirm with me last week that the detour for the buses is going to be exactly as it was for 2019. Excuse me, and they're updating the detour sign. And so we're waiting for WMATA to provide us that detour sign so that we can distribute post it on our website as well. And also post it on the detour along the detour routes. And we're gonna, I'm gonna going out with a few Ddot staff to post the detour signs. So we'll be doing that a week in advance to the Open Street event. Ddot is also looking for volunteers to help us at the event on October 2nd. If you do volunteer, you do get a free Open Street t-shirt. And then you also get a Capital Bike Share a free Capital Bike Share account with us. So if you are interested, I'm going to drop the link for you to sign up and be a volunteer. A few other things that we've done in the community to do the outreach for this event. We conducted a mass kind of like door knocking, a flyer drop-in event for all businesses. And we provided business information sheets to all businesses along the route to let them know how they can participate and how they can activate their business in front of their business. And we did that sometime in July. We hosted 2 information sessions where we answered any questions, concerns that they may have. And we went over what is allowed and what is not allowed in regards to activation. And then for residential outreach, we're planning on going out next week to door knock for the residents that are impacted or that live along the route, to let them know that Open Street is going to be on October 2nd. And so we are looking for volunteers. If you have a few hours to give us, the outreach is going to be on September 17. I believe it's on a Friday. We're going to be out in the community. So if you see us, say hi. If we miss you, please let us know if you need flyers or if you could post it on listservs. I'm happy to provide the posters and information on Open Street. We're just trying, our main goal is to get the word out as much as we can. One, to have the community members participate in the event. And the second thing is for the residents to also be aware of the event so that they know that Georgia Ave is going to be closed. So that is the quick update on Open Street. I can take any questions, concerns from the community or ANC at this point.
I see Commissioner Ray, you've raised your hand.
Thank you. Good to see you as always, Syra. The one thing I just wanted to put a plug in for is if there are going to be any sort of quick fixes before the mayor shows up, as there sometimes is. The Morton Street pedestrian islands were pretty well cut up during PEPCO's Capital Grid. So if there's any way to get those addressed in the next month, and then also the brick in front of Midlands has almost completely deteriorated. So it would, and it's supposed to be fixed as part of PAVE DC. So if they wanted to really, strategically focus, that would be a good one just to jump into.
Yes, so I knew that this question was going to be brought up. So I had planned a PEPCO and PSRD, which is our public space inspector, meeting. Actually, this morning I was on Georgia Avenue from New Hampshire to Fairmont, doing a walkthrough with our public space inspector to make sure that we hold PEPCO accountable to restoring our road. So that is on our pipeline, and it is, we see eye to eye. I'm not gonna let my ward, down. But the only thing is that, we're trying to work out how they can restore because they're still working on Georgia Avenue. So technically, a permanent restoration cannot happen now because it's going to be teared up again. So at least we're trying to see what can be fixed to accommodate the Open Street, and then also holding them accountable when during Open Street and even after their project is done. So this is definitely not the first or last time that PEPCO will hear from us. And I let them know that. And so anything that I can do to see what we can fix on Georgia Avenue on this stretch, I'm gonna get it done.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I see Commissioner Love-Wade has her hand up.
Hi. Yeah, I want to know, you did mention that you want to notify the affected residents of the parking and Georgia Avenue Day and open streets. Well, let me just remind you, as you know this neighborhood so well, a drop of rain on Park Place will cause a flood on 14th Street or vice versa. So as you are notifying the residents, I think you need to take it all the way up to 14th Street, because traffic is going to be impacted in our entire ANC commission. All of our streets are going to be jammed, backed up, rerouted, detoured, and every conceivable inconvenience. So I would like the door knockers, hangers, whatever you use to notify the immediate community, that it goes as far as Park Place and as far up as 14th Street, probably up near Spring Road, down to Girard. We're going to be, our neighborhood will be choked, and will be choked all day. So notwithstanding any pop-up bike lanes that were proposed, which would further mitigate our problems, these are issues that we need to address. And just to remind you that last year, although I know great planning went into it, there was the concerns that we expressed as an ANC commission as related to making sure there was access for Harvard Street for emergency vehicles, and that there was some way that buses could somehow get through because of critical hospital workers and people of that ilk getting caught up in the detour traffic. It was just a total nightmare. So I hope that this year's plans are better. Unfortunately, I haven't been invited to any of the open street meetings, and I'd have great concerns. And I think our ANC commission should be even more involved than we currently are. So, because it's going to impact every single commission in ANC 1A.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Wade. Yes, I do agree that we need to distribute information just throughout the area, right? And my bird agrees with me. This is why as you know, my kid goes to Tubman Elementary School, and I'm in the PTO as well. So we were out there outreaching as well, along with the PTO, and providing information on the open street event to the parents of Tubman. I'm also booked for the 22nd and the 29th. Please come and visit me at the Farmer Market in Columbia Heights. I'll be there providing flyers and posters on Open Street as well. And so, as you stated, this is home for me. So I'm not gonna let home down. So if there's anything that I can do to further engage with the residents of Ward 1 and provide information, I'm open to it. I'm also open to help. And so if you need some extra steps to take that any of these days up and leading up to Open Street, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to meet you, and we can pass out information on wherever you are. If there's any events that you'd like me to join to provide information on open streets, I'm open to that. I've engaged with District Bridges, who is helping us. I've engaged with Teresa, who's over Georgia Avenue. So I am putting myself out there as much as I can so that open street information is out there. And we are working closely with the mayor's special event task force to make sure that our emergency agencies know of the events and coordinate accordingly and know of the reroute. But of course, if there's an emergency, they can work with MPD to see how they can be accommodated during the day, right? It has to be kind of like the day of. MPD will be there to let them in and guide them. But the buses, because we want to make sure that the pedestrians and the users of the street that are going to be under the avenue are maintained safe. We don't want to continue to open and close the street. So we are working, that's why we are working closely with WMATA so that they understand what the detour is. And so as soon as we have that information from WMATA, I'll be sure to post it so that everyone is aware. And if
is it possible, Sarah, for you to work with the MedStar complex to let them know of the impact that this may have on their emergency vehicles and the EMT services, their personnel? I think that this was the biggest snafu at the last one. So that they can alert their staffs, because their staffs don't live in the neighborhood and don't get the door knockers and everything. But these are critical workers that we have to make sure have access to the hospitals, because this pandemic has not gone anywhere and our hospitals are filling up. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can for our EMT and Metro Police as well, because stuff just doesn't stop because we're celebrating on Georgia Avenue.
I agree with you. Yes, and I can definitely put that on my to-do list. No worries.
Syra, if I can put this out as a perhaps way to one, move us forward in our meeting agenda tonight, but also it was my understanding that Ddot was going to have some outreach directly to commissioners, which I don't believe has happened yet. Clearly, there's a lot of concerns and issues that commissioners are related to that we're not going to solve tonight. So do you know when that meeting is scheduled and when we're going to be able to have more time to engage with Ddot specifically on open streets?
Yes, that's a great question. So that meeting was supposed to be led by the mayor's office, because this is an event that is coming from the mayor's office. Ddot is the lead agency to make it happen. And so I can definitely touch bases with the mayor's office to see when this ANC meeting could be accommodated and pass on the message. And then if there are any questions, concerns from the ANC in the interim, I'm happy to be of assistance in any way. And I'm also happy to connect you with the project manager and our manager to also be included in the conversations.
Okay, that would be great, because I think that there's, as people start to think about this and as we get closer, more and more questions are going to arise, but we don't have the luxury of time to really get some of those questions answered. So if you could get back to us with when the meeting and the outreach to the ANCs is going to occur, that was, I believe there was a commitment for that. That would be great, because I don't consider a presentation at an ANC meeting checking that box. There's just not enough time for us to get into the meat of the issue.
I will pass on the message.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Well, with that, I will wish you and Cynthia both a good night, even though we didn't get to hear from Cynthia. I see her name there. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, anytime. I'll see you around.
Oh, I know that.
Good night. Thank you.
Have a good night. Can we bring up Joshua Jackson? I understand he is here instead of Trevoris from PEPCO.
Hello?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. My name is Joshua Jackson. I work with the PEPCO Capital Grid team. I do more of like the administrative stuff. So I was on this meeting to just do a recording of our part for our records, but Trevoris was unable to join the meeting due to technical difficulties. So they just wanted me to inform you guys of basically everything he was going to do. Just that PEPCO Capital Grid is having a community meeting on September 28th at 6:30 to do an update for the Harvard substation. And they will be sharing a flyer with you guys, and it will be distributed door to door. And that there will also be heavier truck presence, and a flyer will be distributed about that as well. And it also will be shared with the ANC. And if you do have any questions that you wanted to ask Trevoris, you can give the questions to me, and I will give those to him for him to answer and get back to you. So if there were any questions, I can jot those down to give to him.
Thank you. I'm not sure that there are any questions tonight. I know Commissioner LaVoy is part of the working group on the substation and very in touch with most of the issues related to Capital Grid in our area. But thank you for informing us about the flyer and the upcoming meeting. We'll coordinate with Commissioner LaVoy to make sure that that information gets out or is into the community. So our constituents who are interested or concerned can join that meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
And I see you give things in. I see Steve Dryden has joined, so bring him up as well, and then we'll move on to Ali Bobek.
Hello.
Hello, you have the floor, sir.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Steve Dryden, and I am the director of the Rock Creek Songbirds Habitat Restoration Initiative, which is working on Rock Creek Park in the Piney Branch area, which is just to the west of 14th Street, kind of bordered by Quincy and Shepherd Street. This is, of course, technically right outside of Ward 1, but since it impacts constituents there in Ward 1 and residents, I feel I always need to speak to you, commissioners, about what's going on. I just wanted to update you about a couple of things. First, the picnic table, which your commission supported last spring, has been placed in the Quincy Alley Park area, the green, we call it the Quincy Green, and it has been used, and it is still, of course, a concept in progress because there's a lot of different types of uses going on there, as you know, in the park, but I think that it has been welcomed as an addition to the neighborhood, and I appreciate your support for that. And related to that, the main reason I wanted to speak to you tonight was that the situation with encampments in that part of the park remains a serious issue. And I wanted just to inform you of what's been going on there. Last winter, the National Park Service, following the guidance of the DC government CDC, decided that they would not remove encampments from the park there, which were taking place just directly to the west of 14th Street, bounded by Quincy, in the woods there. And on the idea that this was safer for people to be camping in the woods than being in shelters. I'm sure you're familiar with this situation. I did myself raise objections. I thought that this was actually a very short-sighted and ill-advised policy because it just basically added to the public disorder and issues of trash and dumping and open-air sexual commercial sex activities going on in that part of the park. But that was a policy they followed. Now, several of these campsites were maintained over the winter, and then in around March or April, the users, the residents, the campers just disappeared and left behind, of course, as you won't be surprised to know, extraordinary amounts of trash and debris and all kinds of stuff, adding to the already serious problem of dumping and trashing and all kinds of illegal activities that go on there. The Park Service, which was down very significantly, its staff because of COVID, got back into gear in June, and it's taken them a while, but they promised this week they were actually going to be cleaning that area out with special contractors because it was considered a health hazard. And so then we're presented with the question, well, what's going to happen this fall and winter with camping again? Despite or in spite of the general policy about not moving the encampments, it has become very clear, and I've been told by informed sources, that superintendent of the park does have discretion to make exceptions to this rule. And you may or may not be aware, but in places like DuPont Circle, they are not allowing encampments. Now, I'm not sure what the rationale is for that exactly, but I would argue that Rock Creek Park in the Quincy area and the Piney Branch area next to your ward and Ward 4 certainly is not a free fire zone that for some reason can be allowed to deteriorate into a place of public disorder and dumping and trash and all of these activities. It doesn't help the environment there. It definitely does not help the community because people are afraid to go in there. And I've had direct experiences with this in the past year, trying to get residents to hold barbecues. I've reached out, worked very hard at this. People will not go in there. And so my message is going to be to the superintendent that I don't see any reason why that area should be considered a free fire camp zone during this COVID period. I just don't think that makes any sense. And it's a question of a few individuals who are making an extraordinary mess and leaving it there and ruining it for the community, basically. So I wanted to alert you to that because I would like you to consider this, and not tonight, but perhaps a discussion could be held on this. I would be very happy if the ANC saw fit to write the superintendent and endorse this view that they should not be allowing camping there. But I realize it's something you probably want to discuss. So I just wanted to broach that tonight. So I'm certainly willing to answer questions now or hear comments on this. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I will take questions from commissioners if they have them, but I will also say that I concur in that we should probably have more discussion about this. I'd certainly be interested in what Commissioner Bonneau and her community and her constituents have discussed. And I'm very interested in what ANC 4C may have discussed, or any position they may take, as they are the ANC of jurisdiction, and we would want to support them in any way we could. So there are other parties that need to be considered as part of any discussion that would lead to any recommended action, in my opinion. Does that sound right to you, Commissioner Bonneau?
Steve, do you want to? Thank you. And Steve, do you want to share briefly what Commissioner Marbury and 4C initial thoughts are?
Well, Commissioner Marbury from 4C, who lives on Shepherd Street, so she's right adjacent to this part of the park, shares my concerns about the camping and the public disorder that is existing in that part of the park, and she's very concerned about it. And I'm planning on speaking to their ANC about this. Probably not tonight because you have dueling meetings, but hopefully maybe in the next meeting that comes up. But she has certainly been very supportive of our efforts to try and bring a greater sense of order to that part of the park and discourage some of these activities that have made it so unwelcoming for the community to make use of this park.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, I can share briefly. Well, first, thank you, Steve, for being here and for sharing that update. I just wanted the commissioners to be briefed on kind of what's going on there and for the community to be aware of it. And I'd love to follow up with you and Commissioner Marbury after you've talked to 4C, kind of echoing Commissioner Bass to see how they'd like to move forward to share back with 1A for us to consider. I will say that, so Steve, you joined a bit late, and so the timing's kind of funny. We had a representative from DPR on earlier this evening, and I know it's different jurisdiction here at that part of the park, or it's the Park Service and not DPR. But in that presentation, it was really clear, like, you can't camp overnight in the park. And we know that that's different. Like, if I'm deciding to camp socially with friends in the park versus I am unhoused and choosing to live on parkland. And so I do think it would be helpful to have a broader conversation about supporting unhoused neighbors with services. And I hear you on the safety concerns. And I've heard them directly from a number of my constituents who live on that block of Spring Road. There are a number of apartment buildings that butt up against the Quincy Green. And just to echo what Steve said, we've tried to encourage people to use the park, and depending on the activities they're seeing outside their window, they don't feel safe taking their children there. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this area.
Agreed. Then I think what we need to do on this issue, and Commissioner Bonneau, I'll follow your lead in that of 4Cs, but we do need to have a broader cross-jurisdictional discussion. Because I mean, it worked before for the picnic table, and we are the junior partner here, so we want to make sure that we are collaborating with the ANC jurisdiction in whatever course that may be. So with that, Mr. Dryden, thank you so much for bringing us up to date. We will move forward in some capacity as we did last time, perhaps with one of our committee meetings where we can actually devote more time to this and invite people from 4C and other neighbors just for a more meaningful dialogue that can lead to an outcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you.
This time. Okay, good night.
Okay. Have a good night.
Okay.
Can we bring up Ali Bobek now from Councilmember Nadeau's office?
Hello, how's everybody doing? I'm Ali. I'm the Deputy Director for Constituency.
Fine, good to see you.
Nice to see you too. I love when I get video. Deputy Director for Constituent Services for Ward 1, Councilmember Nadeau. So hi, commissioners, and a special hello and welcome to Commissioner Barnett. We're super excited to have you. And I know I've already, right when I got your email, I already started bothering you because of course that's a part of the commission. That's very important.
Thank you. Not a bother at all.
So I'm very aware of time. I know you all have had a lot of updates. So if I could just ask a favor for one of the commissioners, Councilmember Nadeau did send out a Ward 1 update with fiscal year 2022 investments. If you go to brianneknadeau.com, it's the third most recent update. And instead of kind of giving the highlights, I figure it's easier to just send that link. And I'm sure the councilmember will be coming to the commission when we can get it scheduled to give some of those budget highlights, and I'll let you ask the questions to her, but did want to just highlight that the council did pass that budget and there's some really exciting investments for ANC 1A in there, and definitely happy to address all of those. And then I just kind of wanted to highlight some weekend events on a lighter note. On Saturday, Councilmember Nadeau will have staff at the Health and Wellness Fair, which is going to be held at the Rita Bright Rec Center. So in 1B at Clifton and 14th. So that should be really fun. That is going to be between 12 and 3 p.m. And all are welcome to get information about health and wellness and different services that the city has to offer. I did also just want to take a moment. Thank you, Commissioner Bonneau. While having the floor, I know that Commissioner Love Wade brought up questions about the porta potty in Civic Plaza, and that was something I just sent an email about. So that is actually put in by the Department of Human Services. It was a response in part to a response to the public health emergency for lack of public restrooms that people could use. And I know it is very visible That's in part because they wanted it to be really visible, right? Because we have in other parts of the city where people don't see it, you still have basically public use of the restroom. So I know that the District Bridges Main Street Director has some considerations about the placement. And so she is in conversations with them. I will say it's pretty costly to move it, is my understanding. So while DHS is open to those conversations, and I can take back some of the feedback that you presented to Eli, to Professor McCarthy, it's not a guarantee, but they said, feel free to send the feedback, but it's also a hard process to happen. There's no current plan to remove the porta potty, though, is what DHS.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bobak.
Mhm.
The city's budget is $17 billion. How costly could it be to move a porta potty?
I couldn't tell you
That
the actual cost
that
of
makes
moving
no
a porta
sense.
potty, Commissioner Hall. I mean, don't shoot the messenger. That's just what they told me. I think,
Well, that's the
there's
problem
reason
here.
it was
Everyone's
put
a
there
messenger.
in the first place. And, but again, they're open to community input if there's other locations, but it wasn't just placed there for no reason. It was also thought through where it was placed.
Dottie, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just don't see a lot of thought having gone into placing it right on the tippy end of a park where the playground, where the water park, where they do a farmer's market every
There's farmer's
weekend.
market and water park right next to a bathroom.
Right,
Commissioners,
to
could
an
you please
outdoor
not
toilet. Who came up with that bird brain idea? I'm telling you, every idea is not a good idea. And we've had so many bad ideas foisted and thrust upon us up here in 1A that I'm over here with it. I'm not blaming the messenger, but as the messenger, then you must relay the other side of the message. And our message is that we don't want that crap up there. We don't care how much it costs to remove it. We were not asked for it. We were told this is where it is. And it is in the most horrific possible place. Who would put a public toilet right next to a kid's pond and a food market?
Here,
Where is the sanity in that? I mean, an open air food market. Right on the corner of the biggest daggone shopping center complex in the city. There's none bigger than the Target 14th Street area. We have more traffic coming in. And then everybody comes in and have to look at a yellow pea pot, because that's what it is. It's a pea pot. And who maintains it and keeps it clean?
The Department of Human Services.
Oh, good. That gives me a lot of comfort, because I know they're in there every day, twice, 3 times a day, as filthy as that place gets. So I'm just letting you know, as a commissioner, as a resident, as a consumer, as a person who likes to eat out in the neighborhood right across from the ice cream place, I don't want to walk out to a pea pot. It's just not a good look, a good feel, a good fit for our neighborhood. So.
Got it, yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
Ally, if I might, I see other commissioners are starting to raise their hands. Did you have much more to share with us?
The only other
with an
thing
update?
was on Sunday, it's your neighbors in 1C, it's Adams Morgan Day. So I just wanted to highlight it as a fun community event, and the council member will also be attending that event. So just kind of wanted to say where we'll be this weekend as an update. And Commissioner Bonneau, sorry, I didn't see, well, I'll add, while people are speaking, I can add my contact into the chat.
Okay. It sounds like you're at the end of your update. So we'll go to Commissioner Lehman Morales. I believe you've had your hand up the longest.
Thank you, Commissioner Bass. My question is really for Commissioners Love, Wade, and Hall. Would you prefer that residents use your personal bathrooms then? I mean, I don't see the problem or the issue with offering residents who may have nowhere else to go a place to use a bathroom in peace. Would you prefer that they defecate and urinate in the plaza? I mean, that's also an option. So I don't understand.
I mean, first of all, they already do. Second of all, I prefer we use the money. We can pay the yogurt people double the money to use their bathroom or something like that. It's not an area where raw sewage can leak into a water park with children and where they're selling food.
Well, in the meantime, we can use your bathroom then.
Okay.
Yeah, come over.
Thank you.
That's not a good solution. We are,
Commissioners,
however,
commissioners,
Commissioner Morales is looking
please,
for
we
a
can have this
solution.
conversation. Commissioner Barnett, your hand is up.
I just want to say that I don't think the issue is as simple as saying, get rid of it. I mean, there are obviously a series of issues happening in the plaza that require some nuanced thinking. For example, when I was collecting signatures and talking to folks in the neighborhood, particularly in the apartment buildings above there, they had reported that folks were defecating and peeing all over the properties, and the porta potty has helped. So it's not, the issue of the porta potties is tied to the issue of the people who need assistance in that plaza. And it's not as simple as saying, it's not a simple issue. They're all interconnected. And so it's probably deserves a longer, broader conversation than what we have the time for here. But I think that's an important point. There's some interconnected issues happening there that all need to be addressed to really solve the problems.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions for Ally Welsh? We have her tonight. Seeing none, I will.
Sorry, I have a really quick one.
Sure.
Ally, can you just confirm the full-time social worker that your office is?
Sorry,
Will they
yeah.
be serving all of Ward 1?
Yeah, so for fiscal year 2022, Councilmember Nadeau funded a new kind of pilot grant program of $175,000 to have 2 full-time staff members working in Civic Plaza. And while the receiver of the grant is going to be the one who, hires those staff workers and works on the details, and I know whoever receives that grant, I'm sure will be coordinating with the commission. The idea is, as Professor McCarthy mentioned, to have a dedicated resource there all day, every day, thinking about these issues, talking to the individuals, working on the problems, and connecting to resources. So, Commissioner Barnett, I think, brought up a great point that these are really complex issues, and I'm not, if 2 staff people could solve the issue, the issues of the plaza, we'd put that everywhere. But I do believe, and Councilmember Nadeau believes, that these dedicated resources are going to start making a dent, as well as better coordination of the resources that already exist and the things that agencies already should be doing, which is an initiative that we're going to start really pushing on starting tomorrow.
And just one other quick question. I do think it's reasonable, and I won't ask for it in the public forum, but it would be great to know who the point of contact is at DHS, and to have some sense of what's the cleaning schedule, and to be able to explain, because I've been asked, even just collecting signatures, why was it put there? And I haven't seen anyone provide a public rationale. Being able to answer that question would be great. Having a point of contact who I could reach out to when I get questions to say, it's going to be cleaned on the 1st of the month, or it's going to be cleaned once a week. There's a lot of frustration of just not having information. And I think that could be a good start. So I know we have some time to talk, so we can cover that later, but I think those are very reasonable questions that I'm getting from folks.
Will do. Already started the conversation because the commission brought it up in August. So that's why I had a half an answer and a way to give the feedback. So I have all the feedback. We'll start getting it. And then I will definitely loop you in, Commissioner Barnett, as that is your SMD.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ally. I think we will stop this conversation here, or I'll say pause until next month when you will be back. And I'm sure we'll see you before then. I do not see that Moises Del Rosario has joined us, so we can move on to the consent agenda. So moving on to the consent agenda. Oh, sure.
Yes, before we go to the consent agenda, and since Moises is not here tonight, I had constituents who reside in Williams Alley who had some concerns, and Moises was going to address it tonight during his presentation to the commission. I'd just like to say that they are very concerned about trash, litter, drugs, pretty much everything that the parks are concerned with, that the gentleman just spoke about. It happens in almost every unoccupied space in the city. And that alley had been a garage, a jackleg garage, and abandoned property, and all sorts of bad behavior had developed over the years, and the people are still migrating there, creating problems for all of the residents. They have requested alley cleaning, but the alley is in such a way that trucks and trash trucks cannot get up in there. So they are asking for special consideration from DPW to make a special effort to clean that alley. They requested police cameras from MPD, but MPD has responded that the need for those cameras throughout the city was a greater requirement than the one up that alley. And that we will be continuing to work with them to try to address the concerns, especially with the illegal dumping and the crime activities. So
Okay.
I just wanted to alert the community. There was no resolution we could make because their application did not fall within the realm of alley or street sweeping rotation.
Okay. Well, thank you for that update, Commissioner. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. The first is approval of the minutes for July 2021. The second is approval of the Ddot Transportation Safety Assessment for the 600 block of Princeton Place. Third is approval of the FY22 budget for ANC 1A. And the last is the letter to the Armed Forces Retirement Home Zone A Development Section 106 Preservation Review Update to the Master Plan. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. We can now move on to official business. The first item on official business is the grant application for the Fall Fun Fest by the Friends of the Soldiers Home for $1,000. This is a grant. Commissioner Loveway, did you want to introduce it? I believe we also have John Hughes from Friends of the Soldiers Home with us tonight, so we want to elevate him if maybe he wants to lead us into it.
That would be fine if he wanted to.
Okay.
Mr. Hughes, if you want to do your presentation first.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Okay, thank you for having me. And it's been a very interesting meeting for me to observe up to this point as well. And thank you for all of the work you all do on so many really tough and challenging issues in the war. So I've come to you most of the past years when we've had this event. This is the 7th time we're doing Fall Fun Fest. ANC 1A has supported this event with this annual $1,000 grant almost from the beginning. I think maybe year 2 was the first time we came to you and received the grant. We also go to ANC 4C, and they're considering a $1,000 grant as well. And as you have, they have always supported this grant as well. And we really appreciate the support of both ANCs. Because we get so much participation from people in both ANCs at this Fall Fun Fest, we typically draw more than 1,000 people. And the $2,000 from the 2 ANCs are very important for us to be able to hold this wonderful outdoor event. And the overall cost for the event is $7,700. So the $5,700 we raise ourselves get donations, so that the 2,000 that we get from the ANCs really helps, helps us be able to offer this event. So thank you so much for your consideration and giving me this time to speak with you.
Mr. Hughes, I know we have several commissioners who aren't familiar with what Fall Fest is, because this is the first one that they will be on the commission for. Do you want to at least take a little time to give a broader understanding of what the festival is and why it's important?
So Friends of the Soldiers Home formed in 2011 to really connect the Armed Forces Retirement Home with the community, because for decades there had been basically a wall between the home and the community. And through our efforts, we've gotten them to open up the campus periodically and invite the community in. And Fall Fun Fest, which first happened in 2012, has been one of those events where the gates are opened up, the community can come in free of charge and run across the green expanse of the golf course driving range, go on some fun inflatables and participate in other activities and listen to some music and dance. We have live music, and residents from the Soldiers Home come down to the area where this event is held. So we get the veterans and the community mingling and connecting. And that's really what we've been about since the beginning.
Thank you. Commissioner Love-Wade, do you have anything to say relative to the grant?
Yes, we did review the grant, and the amount of $1,000 was to help support this community activity. Residents from our ANC have annually participated and enjoyed this event. So it does serve our community and meets the requirements of our grants. So I move that we approve a grant in the amount of $1,000 for the Fall Fest by the Friends of the Soldiers Home.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'll second it, but before we vote, I want to give others an opportunity to ask questions if they have any. Okay, I don't see any questions. So with the motion moved and seconded, let's move on to a vote. All those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Or excuse me, any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. See you soon, John.
See you soon.
Okay, Commissioner Ray, moving on to the second item on the agenda, letter requesting Ddot review 1A09 street signs or parking signs.
Thank you all very much. So the letter is in the folder that I've been kind of occasionally posting in the chat, if you follow that link. But the letter simply identifies to Ddot that back in 2012, all of Ward 1, in fact, was supposed to have one side of the street as 2-hour parking for people, and on the other side of the street, it was supposed to be resident-only parking for folks that have a Ward 1 parking zone sticker. Unfortunately, as it seems to happen on a lot of occasions on my particular SMD, the 700 blocks of Morton Street and Lamont Street never received their signs. And I gotta say, I'm a little embarrassed that I've never noticed that that was the case. So I have put this letter together to identify the fact that this was missed to Ddot and to ask them to try to rectify it, to replace one side of the street, most likely the north side on both blocks, with the resident-only parking signs that would run from 7 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So with that, I'll see if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'll also go ahead and I'll make a motion that we approve the letter as written.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second? I see a second from Commissioner Love Wade. All those in favor say aye. Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Next item is the issue of the settlement agreement and or letter of protest for Creole 14. Commissioner Miller is unable to be here tonight. It's my understanding from an email I received from her earlier that what she is asking for us is that we consider taking a position of opposition should a settlement agreement not be achieved by the deadline to file ANC response. As I understand it, she is working toward trying to get a settlement agreement, and she's working with the community. Sometimes you run out of time, and in order to maintain standing with ABRA, you have to file a protest in which you intend to withdraw the protest after a settlement agreement has been negotiated. And so that's what she's seeking, is at least our authorizing that the understanding would be that the protest would be withdrawn once a settlement agreement is in place. Did I convey that correctly?
If I can,
I believe you did.
a community
Okay.
member did ask a question as to what a settlement agreement is. I don't know if you
Sure.
want to take that.
Sure, I'll take a swing at it. Essentially, what a settlement agreement is sometimes when there's a business, well, let me start here. Settlement agreements only occur, or we only have the opportunity to enter into them with businesses that have alcohol licenses. This is a agreement that ABRA uses to see that the community and a business, or a commission and a business, has come to terms with issues such as hours of operation, how they are disposing of refuge, grease, maintaining the property, if they're entering into, or if they intend to have live music, what are the hours of operations for the music, after which time does the music need to be turned down. The goal of the settlement agreement is in many ways not to deny the liquor license, but to address concerns that may be in the community and have all the parties understand what those concerns are so that those concerns don't become problems. I tend to look at settlement agreements more as a good neighbor policy than anything else when they're done correctly. So some of the neighbors have issued or have raised some concerns with the hours of operation, and there is an issue that the Creole wants to have music. I know that some members of the commission are of the opinion that music indoors should not be a problem because the building was constructed to be a movie theater, and so therefore it's constructed to contain sound. Issues of sound might be an issue if there's any interest in having them outdoors rather than indoors. So those are the types of issues that Commissioner Miller would be working on with this business.
Do you know what the date is for the hearing?
I do not. I do not believe well,
I
let me
think Christine
rephrase.
said it was in October, after our October meeting.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
I mean, right now,
I really
Yeah.
have a concern. I think that our settlement agreements should be uniform.
mhm.
And however we have, whatever hours of operation ABRA allows under the law, we have historically granted to the businesses within our community, including the business that just closed, which was open as late as the law permitted, did have live indoor music, did have outdoor cafe, did have everything that that Creole is asking for, and did have everything, was asking for everything that all the bars and restaurants in Columbia Heights has. So my concern is that the protests are coming from neighbors who want to amend our standard hours in operation. We're not changing how frequent businesses must pick up their trash. We're not changing how frequent they have to change their oil, their greases. We're not talking about changing the noise decibels. All the settlement agreement should be focused on is making sure it's equitable with all of the other agreements. So in that case, it is our responsibility to approve a settlement agreement that is consistent with the rest of them. And it's up to those neighbors who don't want it to protest. I don't think we should be the protesting agency at this point, because from what I have seen, they haven't asked for anything that the other businesses have not asked for. And I want to remind people who may not know, but we lost TGIF from those same neighbors who didn't want another restaurant in the neighborhood. Didn't want TGIF because it brought in music and noise and people drinking that they didn't want drinking in their neighborhood. So I think that our position should always be one of equity and fairness among all businesses. And if the other bars are allowed to stay open to 3 o'clock on weekends and 2 o'clock during the week, and if their outdoor cafes are allowed to stay open to 11 or 12, whatever the hours are consistent with the neighborhood is what we should be looking for in the settlement agreement. So I move that we table this resolution until such time as our commissioner who has oversight for this is available, and until we have a realistic settlement agreement that she can present and defend, because I can't defend this one.
No.
You go, Commissioner Ray.
So I did pull up the Creole notice while we were chatting. And so while the hearing is not until October 18th, unfortunately, the protest petition deadline is September 27th. So what the commission, what I understand anyway, what the commission would be saying tonight is that if by September the 27th, they're unable to come to some agreement on having a document, which I believe she does want it to be consistent with all of the others that she has on that block, that they would have to file something before the 27th under our name. Otherwise, we would miss the opportunity to do anything at all. She's just trying to make sure the clock doesn't run out before that October 18th, but we have to file something by September 27th. So we would be approving the ability to file that document with ABRA, not approving the settlement agreement. We're not approving the settlement agreement tonight. We're only allowing for a protest to be filed if it is necessary.
Does the resolution state that?
Correct. If the letter in the file, and I can let me see if I can bring it up tonight. It's the standard, just the standard letter that we normally file on peace order and quiet. And I'm trying to get there real quick. Creole. And I will try to share my screen.
Commissioner Ray, while you're doing that, I thought the question that we're still trying to get answered from ABRA was if Creole wanted to sell tickets coupled with the live music, which would make this more of a club environment as opposed to some of the other establishments in the area, but I could be confused there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all of the outstanding issues are. I would imagine that there is no other place that is allowed to have a cover, but I don't know that. But I'm hoping everyone can at least see what the letter says.
Well, when I use my magnifying glass, sure.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I'm comfortable with supporting Commissioner Miller, giving her the ability to file a protest to maintain standing. That said, I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Love Wade on the fairness of settlement agreements. We've done this for 14th Street. We've done this for 11th Street. We've done this with Georgia Avenue, where hours of operation and sales, they're similar, but there may be differences between those corridors. But on the corridors themselves, we've tried really hard to maintain a standard because we recognize that they have different draws, different traffic patterns, so they should be treated similarly. And we also, I mean, we've tried very hard to be fair to the businesses.
So is the only issue for the protests, as I just heard Commissioner Bonet say, a fee, charging a fee, a cover charge? Because that is not the resolution statement of the protest. Protest is for the peace, quiet, and orderly something. Has nothing to do with the cover charge or cost of meals or any of those things.
If you're going to do a protest, you have to use the phrase, quote, peace, order, and quiet, unquote. If you don't use that phrase, ABRA kicks it out. ABRA wants that boilerplate in there. You may recall several years ago, we did a protest of a renewal for a restaurant in my SMD where there had been violence. The police were called and somebody was trying to break down the bathroom doors in order to do bodily harm to the waitresses late at night. We referenced all of that in why we were protesting, and I had to work some magic with Martha Jenkins over at ABRA because we didn't use the word peace, order, and quiet. We just gave a really great example of broken peace, order, and quiet. So they want that phrase in there.
Even though that's not the cause.
Yeah, no, that's their umbrella. If you don't put that in there, then they may as well crumble.
Well, then the protest isn't valid because I'm not willing to agree to a protest that's not based on a fact. A cover charge has nothing to do with the peace, quiet, and what's that other word, whatever.
We are making assumptions. We don't know that that's the reason that she's doing it. That's why I'm saying we can't take into facts that are not been present to us. And all I'm saying is she asked us to do this.
I don't like the fact that we're doing it without her here to defend it. Because she's the only one who's had these conversations. But I'm just one person.
That's okay.
Chairman Bass, I'll give it back to you.
Well, no, that's fine. Commissioner Love-Wade, you've already made a motion to table it. We'll see if there's a second, and if there's not, then we'll take up the other issue. So is there a second to table? Seeing none, the
Chairman.
Sorry. Yeah.
What's the procedural situation here? We need to vote something before September 27th, you said?
Yeah.
Or else we
right.
lose our ability to protest.
Correct. And if you lose your ability to protest, then you also lose your leverage in coming up with a settlement agreement.
So we can,
I understand.
And we can revisit it in reverse in the October meeting if need be. Okay.
Yeah, we could remove the protest in October if we don't agree with it because the hearing hasn't occurred.
Okay, sounds good.
If we voted to support the protest tonight, and then in October, by the time we get to the October meeting, if we don't agree with the rationale behind it, we could vote to reverse ourselves and withdraw the protest, even if there isn't a settlement agreement negotiated.
All right. Just confirming, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Commissioner Love-Wade's motion to table did not get a second. Is there another Commissioner Ray?
I'm taking you up on the offer to make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the letter of protest this evening and ask for a second.
A second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's.
I abstain.
But just keep going through the thing.
Hold it. Yeah. So that's okay. All those against? Let's see.
Nay.
Okay. Any abstentions?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And Commissioner Barnett, did you also abstain?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm recording that as 5 to 1 to 2, if I have that correct.
No, there's 3 abstentions.
3, okay, sorry.
Yeah, 3 abstentions, 1 opposed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And 2 carry. So what happens? It carries with 2?
No, there were more than 2.
There were 4.
Because there's 8 of us.
Oh, okay.
4 to 1 to 3.
4 to 1 to 3, so it carries. Thank you, commissioners. Moving on to 616 Quebec Place. I see Mr. Cross was in the attendees, so we'll want to bring him up. Commissioner Ray, do you want to introduce from the
Sure.
ZPP?
I will. So the ZPP has seen this case a couple of times, and we have in the past, as a commission, we have voted to not support the application. This application is to do a conversion of a single-family home into 3 units. There has been a long-standing question about one of the stories in a series of back and forths. Revisions have now been made to remove that story. And so Mr. Cross will show us those plans. And so we would be reconsidering, just as we kind of talked about a moment ago, we will be reconsidering our non-support before and potentially changing that, I would think, to support now that the story that was in such concern is no longer part of the plan. So with that, Mr. Cross, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, have we? Oh, good. You've given him the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. We're here tonight seeking your support for the special exception relief for a 3-unit conversion in the RF1 zone pursuant to subtitle U 320.2. The project that is being proposed is located at 616 Quebec Place Northwest, which is on the south side of the block between Warder and Park Place. The project proposed is conforming with the requirements for the conversion as it satisfies the 900 square foot rule, that is 900 square feet of lot area for every unit being proposed. It currently proposes no modification of rooftop elements. We are providing the required 2 parking spaces at the rear of the lot, and we'll be maintaining the existing footprint, which does not propose any new rear addition. Since our last presentation to the ANC, we have removed the additional story in hopes of receiving the support of the ANC and the withdrawal of party opposition. And we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Sure. I have one, and I know you know what it is, but we haven't talked about it yet tonight. In looking over the plan set, my question is, the current design has on the uppermost story 3 windows where you've removed the door into the space above the roof of the porch. Is it possible to keep that door in place and rebuild a balustrade out there that was originally there? I think if it's possible to do that, it would create additional amenity to the project, and it would be more in keeping with the streetscape.
Yeah, obviously, we have discussed this, and it is our position that our client would support the proposed door and balustrade. As discussed, this would actually require additional relief to be requested from the BZA. We have confirmed that the Office of Zoning has suggested that we could add that relief and not postpone the case. Should that be true, my client is prepared to add that additional relief. Should that be found by the ANC to be a contingency of their support.
Thank you for that. Honestly, I don't know where the other commissioners are on this, but if we could, I'm very agreeable to entertaining a motion to support this with the condition that we would support additional zoning relief to rebuild the balustrade and keep that door, since that's original component. And I think it would really help keep the rhythm of the streetscape. I think that would, for me, especially if it, as Mr. Cross has outlined, does not delay this project any more than it's already been dragged out. I would definitely be agreeable to that being a condition of our support, but I would make a motion of support with that condition, if others are so inclined.
I would support that as well. You know, we've gone through this a number of times. I think the applicant has made every concession that we asked of them at this point. So there isn't any reason that we wouldn't support it with the condition that you just laid out.
Yeah, I think that gets us not just to yes, I would hope that would get it to a very strong yes, and we would definitely convey that to the BZA, and definitely show up to make sure that we answered any questions that they may have, so that we could get this, get a positive vote and get to a summary order. I think that would be in everyone's best interest by this time. So are there other questions from commissioners? I just want to make sure that we give everyone the opportunity.
I'm certainly glad to see the revisions that look good, consistent. Thank you, Mr. Cross.
Okay, I am not seeing any other hands raised from commissioners. So with that said, I will embrace my previous statement as a motion to approve with the condition that that we support additional zoning relief so that the balustrade can be reinstalled on the porch roof. And that would be a condition of our support, but we would support.
I'll second.
Okay, moved, seconded, and thirded. Then all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries.
I abstain.
Oh, you abstain? Okay, so that's 7-0-1. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cross.
Yeah, thanks
sorry,
for everybody's time.
Long evening for you.
No, my pleasure as always. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Moving on to the response to zoning commission case 1611. Commissioner Ray, do you want to take it up, or Commissioner Lovejoy, do you want to introduce it? I don't care who introduces
Well, I'm ready to do it, especially since we don't have Commissioner Brown with us. But she did read this letter and was in support of what has gotten put together. But just for the background of others, this particular zoning commission case is for the Bruce Monroe site. It has always been a site that was identified for the Park Morton redevelopment. It basically houses around half of the units that were going to get built as part of that redevelopment. And the zoning commission was remanded to reconsider its case based on litigation. The court gave them 7 very specific areas that they wanted them to reinvestigate, and they have done that. However, at a recent hearing, the zoning commission decided that it wanted to hear from the community on the topic of the new comprehensive plan. It was discussed at that hearing that the new comprehensive plan supports even more strongly that this development is very much in keeping with that, with the plan. And so the idea is that by now using what has been approved by the council and signed by the mayor, that this project should move forward with that in mind, including, I should point out that ANC 1A supported and had them add some changes to the map amendments for this parcel so that it would better support both the park and the residences that would get built there. So our letter simply reiterates our continued support for the project. We would love to see this get built. I have a number of my residents who unfortunately have had to move away because this wasn't built in a timely way. And that now this would now go to the zoning commission. They will have a hearing. They will let the public speak. They will let the parties speak. They will all have their day in court, if you will, and they will then vote again as to whether or not to move this to reapprove. And then if they do reapprove, then construction would start potentially sometime in the near future, and we'll see where we go from there. But that is what we are doing tonight. The letter was in the folder that I distributed. So if anyone has any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Loveway, do you have anything to add? I know you've been very involved with this project as well.
I think it's about time. I want to make sure that all of the commitments that were made by the developers in providing amenities to the senior building, including a heated pool for the seniors, and also to make sure that the playground maintains the footage that it was promised, and that there are no major changes to that development.
Yep, I agree. It's the delays caused by this are unconscionable. It's one of the few areas in our community where we'd actually be creating a significant amount of, and I'll say affordable housing, but let's talk about this. We're not talking about 80% AMI. We do have some 60% AMI. We have some 50% AMI. We have some 30% AMI, which is deeply affordable. This isn't just inclusionary zoning units that people tout as being affordable. We're talking about senior housing that's affordable. This is real housing that people who live in our neighborhood right now and are being displaced could really use, so that they don't have to be displaced. And it's just unconscionable to me that this has been held up so long. This commission was very engaged in the community process. We were very engaged with listening to our constituents, and we know what many of the objections are, and we felt that through it all, this project had great merit. We understood that it was a little taller than some would like, but the offset was to give us permanent green space in a community that does not have permanent green space. So a lot of these things were considered. And over the last several years, we have voted on this multiple times, and every time we've reaffirmed our previous positions very strongly. So I know that the document that we're considering tonight may seem somewhat short, but it also references all of that paperwork, all of those other positions, all of the other efforts that we put in, and is in the zoning case record. So I would hope that for those of you, and I know that there are quite a few that are concerned about the affordability and the gentrification and the displacement that's going on in our community, that you will also feel similarly strongly of supporting a project like this that is one of the few that's really pushing back to try to prevent all that. Are there any questions?
Well, I can tell you it was a hard sell for me because of the density, but
Yep.
the value added outweighed my concerns over the density. Because as I look up and down Georgia Avenue, you just cannot stop that freight train. So the density is coming, which is another reason we can't afford to keep losing parking spaces.
Well, and to that, and I agree with you, and to that, with the density, I also think that, sure, we could have perhaps found a way to support something that was 1 or 2 floors shorter. But in my opinion, this is government land, it's public land. That means that we have an opportunity to push a little harder than we maybe sometimes can with a private developer. And when I look into my crystal ball and see things 15 years from now, if the building that's produced on public land with public resources and for the public good is the one building that's shorter than all the other buildings, then we've really lost out in some opportunity, and we've kind of shirked our responsibility of doing the best we can for our community. So that's kind of where my concern is with the density. I don't want the people that have deep pockets and are doing things to make profits to be the only ones getting that density. Because we know none of that's affordable, no matter what they call it. All right. Are there any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move that we, go ahead. Sorry, Commissioner Ray.
Go ahead, Michael.
No.
I'll move that we approve the letter as written.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye or raise your hands. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? It is unanimous. Thank you. I will introduce the last item. We have, Commissioner Ray and I have not written this letter yet, but we want to be in a position where we can write a letter to support the Parkview Elementary School being used by the Bruce Monroe at Parkview curriculum. They have an issue whereby, because of the pandemic, they have purchased tents and the ability to set up the cafeteria outside for lunch. However, they don't have any place to do it. And so we've been asked if we could help work with the school community to try to find a solution, whether it's setting it up in the parking lot, which would then cause us to have to find a solution to where the teachers would park, or if we could temporarily close down the block of Otis between the rec center and the school during lunch hours to traffic so that they could use that space. We don't know what the solution is yet, but Commissioner Ray and myself have started the conversation. We're working with representatives from the school. We know we're going to need to work with Ddot. We may not need to write a letter before the next meeting, but we may need to write a letter. We know that there's a lot of concern with school children, and this school just does not have the space that schools like Tubman or Bancroft have, where they could set up tents outside and just not worry about it. So we're asking that we at least have the authority of the ANC to try to work with the school and find a solution to this. Even if it's, oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I actually move that we grant you that authority, you and Commissioner Ray, to work out an agreement, especially for feeding those children. As a volunteer to the school, I can attest to the very tiny cafeteria that absolutely won't work during these times of social distancing, and anything we can do to alleviate the concerns and the safety of and protect the safety of our children, I support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other commissioners with questions or comments?
Second.
The second is kind of a comment.
Yeah.
So I'll say Commissioner Love Wade moved and Commissioner Gorpate seconded. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Thank you all. That brings us to the end of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Wait,
There
hold
you
on
go.
1 second while I have Layla here. Layla, did anyone actually email you to get on the? They did? Someone did? Okay.
They did.
Great, thank
A
you.
couple neighbors, yeah.
Oh, great, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner Hall. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the meeting, say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed?
Welcome,
abstentions?
Commissioner Barnett. Welcome.
Yes,
Yes,
welcome.
welcome.
Trial
to work
by fire, right?
Can't wait to work you.
Yeah.
We need
Looking forward
somebody
to
to
it.
help on transportation.
Okay, let's talk.
Talk to Commissioner Base, Commissioner